Have you always wanted to play a Windwalker Monk, but maybe you find it a little bit too hard, or when should you use the different keys, the rotation, the cooldowns, and also you have mastery where you're not allowed to actually use the same button twice? Well, then I might have the solution for you. Using one of the builds I recommend and also using it with Single-Button Assistant will help you to focus just on the mechanics in the game, and you don't have to focus too much on the rotation of your gameplay. So in case you're curious and want to see how this works, let's move on. So let's quickly talk about the stats. First of all, I always recommend having the highest upgrade level on your items. For example, you can see the pants here is a champion item. That means I will never change them to adventure item or veteran item. Champion, I would always either take another champion item that has the same, secondary stats, or better secondary stats, or if I got an item that has a higher upgrade level, which is heroic items or hero items or mythic items, then I will change them without even looking at the secondary stats, since they have a higher upgrade level, which is going to give me more agility, which is increasing all my damage. But in case you get an item that is the same upgrade level, that is where you're going to look at the secondary stats. So in case I got another pair of pants, which was a champion one, then you can see the first one I recommend is always haste. Haste increases our attack speed, basically dealing quicker attacks. It also increases our our energy regeneration, so we get energy faster. It also reduces cooldown on 3 important spells like Fist of Fury. You can basically see when you open up the spell book, all the spells that has a green cooldown, like you can see here, Fist of Fury, it reduces the cooldown actually on those spells, which is also really great. We also have a passive here. Fist of Fury damages increased by 100% of your haste, and Fist of Fury does 10% more damage each time it deals damage. So basically, the more haste you have, also Fist of Fury also deals more damage. So haste is just great. You might be waiting for me to actually say it also reduces the global cooldown, but no. Rogues, feral druids, and Windwalker monks, for example, the classes and specs that uses purely energy, they actually have a global cooldown on all their spells on 1 second, and not like 1.5 seconds like other classes, because it's such a fast energy build. So you could say the Single-Button Assistant reduces the global cooldown by 25%, which means normally your global cooldown is 1 second as a Windwalker Monk, but with the Single-Button Assistant it's 1.25. So it adds a little bit delay between each of the spells to make it fair for people who uses it and not uses it. But trust me, it's still very good. Then, beside of that, we have Critical Strike. Critical Strike increases all your spells to do bigger chance to do double damage, and we have a lot of talents which also increases the crit damage on different spells. Then we have Mastery. Mastery is very interesting. Your abilities deal more damage when they are not a repeat of the previous ability. Basically, this means you're not allowed to use the same ability twice. Like, you're not allowed to use 2 damaging spells right after each other, like you would do on other specs. You are always keeping you have to use different spells every time, which is why the Single-Button Assistant is really great here, because it makes sure that you will never use the same ability twice. So if you play against someone who's a Windwalker without Single-Button Assistant and you use Single-Button Assistant, there's a very big chance, if that person doesn't know that they are not allowed to use the same ability twice, that you will deal more damage than them. And the Single-Button Assistant will take care of that for you, which is pretty cool. Then lastly, we have Versatility. Versatility increases all damage and healing and reduces all damage you are taking. The problem is why we're not having Versatility as the first one, because it's basically a really good stat because it increases the damage. The reason for why it's not the meta one is because it's a very expensive stat. You can, for example, see here that I only have you can see haste. I only have 228, which gives me 5% more haste. But Versatility, you can see down here, it has 238 and it only has 4%. So the Versatility is just it's a way more expensive stat to get percentage in. So that's why we're not really focusing on it. But just letting you know. Then we have the talents. They are very meta inspired. So for example, if you go to any of the meta sites, they are looking 99 or 95% the same as the meta, but this is just because this is just the talents that deals the most damage. So of course I'm also using those. But I have done some small changes in the left side to survivability, which I find very nice. But the 2 talent builds I have for you, which you can find on my Discord, both of the export keys will be in the Discord because they are too long and clumsy to add in the description and the title, in the captions, down here. So under this Discord server, you'll find both the builds. There is a build for the dungeons and there is a build for raids. The dungeon one is the one I would say is for dungeons, open world, leveling. everything that is not raid, and then the raid one is specifically for raid build. The dungeon build is using a bit of like AoE talents. For example, we are using Skyfire here to give AoE damage with Rising Sun Kick. We also are using Shadowboxing Threat, which is doing AoE damage with Blackout Kick. Where with the raid build, if we go click on the raid build here, you can see we're taking talents over here, which is basically giving us Jadefire Stomp, which is actually an AoE ability, but this one here turns it into a single target spell but deals 300% more damage, which means every time you use Fist of Fury, it will like do a Jadefire Stomp and deal 3% more damage from that spell against a single target damage. So that's why those like are really great for like a boss raid. So the dungeon build and raid build is like 95 identical, but there's just like in the dungeon build we are striking more targets at the same time. In the raid build we are striking a lot of damage on a single target. This is basically the two builds. Currently we're also using Shadowpan. Shadowpan is just the meta. There's not really many people who uses Conduit of Celestial, at least like Shadowpan is like the meta on most of the websites. So I'm just going with the meta because that's usually also what deals most damage. But this build here, both the dungeon build and the raid build, I have tested them and they work great with Windwalker Monk using the Single-Button Assistant. So let's move on to the rotation and I'll talk about how it actually works. So when it comes to the rotation, it's actually a little bit special because there's a few things you have to consider and think about when playing the Windwalker Monk with the Single-Button Assistant. First of all, we of course have our Single-Button Assistant down here, and then we have our damage cooldown called Zenith. Zenith is a spell that increases all your damage by 10. It also makes your attack speed faster. It also transforms into another spell when you use it called Zenith Stomp, which deals a lot of AoE damage. Great spell. It also gives you passively like a more critical strike, and also reduces the chi cost of your spells, and Blackout Kick reduces the cooldown of effective abilities. So like, you know, Zenith is just like a great spell. 2 charges, 15 seconds on, and you have only 1 minute cooldown between each of the charges. Don't sit on it, use it. Like really use it, because 1 minute cooldown, like the wait time between packs is almost 1 minute, so just keep using it, like don't sit on it. So how this works is the Single-Button Assistant is going to spam Blackout Kick, Jade Lightning, Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Spinning Crane Kick, Tiger Palm, Touch of Death, Whirling Dragon Punch. Basically, when the Single-Button Assistant uses Fist of Fury, it's important you don't click on one. It's very important that you don't click one, because else you're going to interrupt it. If you really want to make sure that you don't interrupt it, you're of course welcome to use a macro like this one here, where it actually don't have that text there. This macro here, as you can see here, this macro here would basically make sure that you never like interrupting your Fist of Fury. I personally don't use it because I prefer to just use the normal Single-Button Assistant, because it can add a little bit delay on your internet, especially if you have a bad connection. So that's why I prefer just running with the normal Single-Button Assistant. But if you're really bad at like, you know, stopping pressing one, or you know, you just often find you interrupting Fist of Fury, then maybe perhaps use this macro here and you should be good. So let's try to get into it. When you start attacking here, you will keep pressing 1. And as you can see, first it will use Tiger Palm, then it will use Fist of Fury. Don't press 1 now, and then keep spamming your rotation. Whenever it uses Jade Spinning Crane Kick, don't worry about interrupting that one. It's so fast done, so you're not going to be interrupting it. So don't you worry about that. But you can see here, just keep pressing 1. It will automatically use the rotation in the right way. And of course, whenever it uses Fist of Fury, stop pressing 1. You can use the cooldown manager here, which is inbuilt in the game, where you can see here when it's ready, and you know when it's ready, then it will be using it the moment you have enough energy. So in this way here, you know when to stop. Then we have the spell Zenith. Zenith basically also activating Zenith resets the remaining cooldown of Rising Sun Kick. So you could probably say, should I maybe wait using it till, like, you know, Rising Sun Kick is on cooldown? Pretty good idea, but again, like, it only has 9-second cooldown, and of course it's gonna like use it all the time. So you can of course see in the cooldown manager whenever like it's on cooldown, like now for example, then we can use it, and now we are ready. When you use Zenith, the Zenith spell is going to replace by Zenith Storm. Don't just click on both storms, because if you just click on both storms like this and this, it will do, of course, twice damage. Like it will do twice, like 2 times 20k damage to all the enemies, like 5 enemies in front of you. The problem with that is 2 things. First of all, you will not get your mastery bonus. If you don't use the same spell like the same spell in twice, Mastery will increase your spell by a lot. So that means you're not allowed as a Windwalker Monk to use the same spell twice. Like, you have to have another spell in between all your spells. That is why you don't want to use Stomp twice. Also, Stomp is generating 2 chi. That means if you just keep using it like both, you're likely going to overcap chi, which you don't want as well. So the best thing is like to maybe look at your chi and see, okay, cool. We're going to be using Single-Button Assistant. Now I have low chi. Now we can use Zenith. We can use the Stomp one time. Then back to the rotation. Wait till it uses some of your chi, because we're all capping right now. There you go. Now we can use Zenith again since we're missing 2. Boom. And then back to using the normal rotation again. So that's how you would be doing it. So again, Zenith, using normal rotation, wait till you actually are losing. There we go. You have 2 chi missing. Now use it. Back to your normal rotation again. Wait till it actually have used some of your chi. And now use it. Boom. So this is how you can do it. Like, this is basically, so you can, if you really want easy mode, you can also just keep spamming it and then use all the stomps in one go. But basically, this is how it works, that it's best to use another spell, then the stomp, another spell, and then the stomp. And of course, it's really like a good scenario if you could try use some of your chi, which you not always can control. And you're also a little bit pressed because you have to do it in that 15 seconds time. So you can see here again, if we're attacking using Zenith, it will use the Stomp first and deal a lot of damage. Then, now, perfect here, it's actually going to use 2 chi. Then we can use it again, boom, use another ability, another ability, another ability. Come on, use some chi. Use some chi. There we go. And now it was too late. Now I didn't get to use my second Stomp. So maybe, if you really want easy time, maybe just like, use the Stomp, use another spell, use the Stomp, at least to get the Mastery bonus. But I mean, you'll figure it out what works best for you. So again, at the same in a raid, like the same as you go into the raid build, it's exactly the same thing that you would be doing over there. The same rotation. But also with Zenith and such stuff like that. Exactly the same thing. Then, as of tradition, I always talk about the other spells I have here, so in case you don't care about the other spells, you already know them, you can skip to the next part. But the next spell we have here is Vivify, which is... and I have used Zenith. Vivify is a great spell. It's a spell that heals for 20k, which is nice, like, just a quick heal you can use on yourself or a teammate. But we do have this talent here where after casting Rising Sun Kick, your next Vivify becomes instant cast, and it also reduces the energy cost by 75%. So right after you have used Rising Sun Kick, you can actually use Vivify for free, which is very neat and good to know when you're actually doing like solo gameplay or leveling and stuff like that. Also, your Tiger Palm, what is it called? Yeah, every 15 seconds, your next Tiger Palm is also using Expel Harm, which also heals you for 10k. So like every 15 seconds, you're also healing for 10k, which is pretty nice. So you have that healing, and you have this healing as well. Then, also healing-wise, I have taken this talent here in the dungeon build and the leveling build and open world build, where every time you don't have enemies around you, you will heal for 5,000 every 3 seconds, which is like great to get full HP while like just walking between mobs. It's kind of like the... I can't remember the name of the warrior spell they have, but also the one where they just keep getting healing. Then we have Roll, great spell. We have a talent, so after using Roll, you can do double jump. So you can see Roll, double jump, Roll, double jump. There we go. Then we have Interrupt. Interrupt is such an important spell. Imagine this mob here is casting a spell which is going to deal a lot of damage to the tank. Then you can press your 5 and boom, it's interrupted the mob. That effect is something that comes from Flurry of the Strikes. But like basically it interrupts the target so it stops casting. What if it starts casting again, or maybe all the mobs here starts casting at the same time? Then you have Leg Sweep. It basically stuns all the mobs around you, which is pretty cool. So everyone around you gets stunned and also interrupted. Then, of course, again, you have Spear Hand again to interrupt. And let's mention, both cooldowns are now on cooldown. So what are you going to do now? Well, then you have also Ring of Peace, which would push all the mobs out of the circle and interrupt them again. Then, what if one of them again casts a spell? Then you have, in last case scenario, if all of them is now on cooldown, you have Paralysis, which would make the enemy like stun for 1 minute. And basically, again, you know, stopping casting. So great spells. So you basically have 4 spells to interrupt and help in dungeons. If you want to do mythic dungeons with this build here in high mythic, it's really like the team really needs you to interrupt. Like, it's so important. Beside of that, we have Transcendence Transfer and also Transcendence. Transcendence is basically a spell you can jump up here. For example, you can jump up here, use Transcendence, which is the spell here, then go down. Let's say the boss is casting a very big spell on this place here. Then now you can use your transfer, and boom, you swap place with your Transcendence, which is pretty nice. Then we also have Tiger Lust. It removes all roots and snares and make you run 70% faster. You can also cast this on a teammate. Then we have Flying Serpent Kick. Basically, you can press E, it will run fast, and you can click again in case you want to like interrupt it. That's up to you. And then we have Touch of Karma, which is like the most cool spell in the game, I personally feel like. So basically what it does is that it absorbs up to 50% of your maximum health, absorb all damage taken for the 10 seconds up to 50% of your maximum health, and redirects 70% of that amount to the enemy target. Imagine one of the mobs or the boss, they attack you because you got aggro, then you can actually use it, like for example here, you can click on this mob here, use Touch of Karma, and then like 50% of the damage, like HP you have, is now going to get interrupted and go directly back to them as a, like you can see there, as a debuff, which is super cool. So you can use this, for example, you could use this as multiple scenario to boost your damage. Trust me, you can boost your damage by a lot by using this. Imagine, for example, a boss uses a big AoE spell that deals a lot of damage on the ground. You could technically use Touch of Karma and stand in that AoE, absorb it, and deal massive damage back to the boss. It's risky, so don't get too like, oh, I'm going to try this, but you know, test it. Many times I have tried to get top damage because I got a little help from Touch of Karma because, you know, I was standing in stuff that I was not supposed to stand in with Touch of Karma. Like, it's a fun spell. So, yeah, don't get me wrong, but it's fun. But it can save you if one of the mobs, they go on you, then you can use Touch of Karma on them, and it doesn't really matter they attack you because you absorb it and send it back in the face of them. Then you have Fortifying Brew. It increases your health HP by 20 and reduces all damage you take by 20 as well. Makes you a little bit bigger and gray, but you get very, like, tanky. That's all the spells. Now let me show you a quick scenario of how I would do this in a big AoE pool. So we're going to help the tank a little bit here. We're going to just pull quickly. There we go. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Now we're going to wait for the tank to start taking them. And now we can keep pressing 1. And basically, yeah, we're going to use Fist of Fury. Now we're going to be using Sinif. We're going to be spamming a little bit Single-Button Assistant. We can use Sinif again to do a little bit Stomp. And then we're going to go back to using the Single-Button Assistant again. Now it uses Fist of Fury. Stop pressing 1. Or use the macro. All up to you. And keep pressing 1. And you can see here I'm doing double the damage than these bots here, which is pretty cool. Back to using Sinif. Back to using Single-Button Assistant. Now we're going to use the Stomp. Using a spell. Stomp. A spell. Pretty solid. Pretty solid. And as you can see down here in the damage meter, we did pretty well damage. I mean, I have the worst gear ever. Like, I have like 200 eye level, which is super low. And still, I managed to do 100k DPS. And you can see, like, the damage came from Sinif Stomp, Fist of Fury, Flurry Strike, Spinning Crane Kick. So, very important, you also use the Sinif spell. And very important, you use the Stomp, like, you know, between spells. But you can test it and find out what works best for you. But, yeah, that was the little DPS test I wanted to show you. So thanks for watching this video here. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, I have guides for many specs and classes using this Single-Button Assistant. You will find all the export codes both for my UI and also my talents on my Discord server. There is a link in the description, and the server is called Lo-Fi Paladins. Over there you will find all the guides. But again, on my YouTube channel, you can also find a lot of other spec and classes in case you want to play, for example, Enhancement Shaman, Elemental Shaman, and so on. So thanks for watching. Let me know which spec would you like to see next time, which video should I make next time. It's always good to get some feedback on which one I should make next time. But thanks for watching. Really appreciate you all for still enjoying my little Single-Button Assistant guide. And remember, when patch 12.1 releases, probably next month or in August, I don't know, July, August, then I would have to remake all my guides, which is going to be interesting, but that's just how the game is. So, in case you want to subscribe to the channel, or sorry, in case you want to support the channel, I was about to say, feel free to subscribe, then you will always catch up with the new videos. And also, in case you want to support even further, feel free to become a YouTube member on the channel, and your name will also be in the end of the video in the rolling credits. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next Single-Button Assistant guide.